Good evening. I'm Christopher Hall, and here are the headlines at 6 o'clock. Coordinating and subordinating conjunctions are causing havoc amongst language students worldwide. The passive and active voices are causing mass confusion in schools and universities. When are they used and why? All this to come. Our main headline tonight. A breakthrough with transitive and intransitive verbs leaves students astounded and some hospitalised. Stay tuned for more. The streets of Reading were today flooded with overwhelmed language students. They discovered that transitive verbs can in fact be intransitive. Joining us tonight live from Perugia, Italy, we have Sean Davis, a leading expert in the field of Italian grammar. Hi Sean, great to have you with us.
Hi there Chris, thanks for having me today.
So, Sean, could you explain for the viewers out there the differences between intransitive and transitive verbs?
Yes, of course. Well, a transitive verb has two characteristics. Firstly, it is an action verb which expresses a doable activity. This could be verbs such as to kick, want, paint, write, eat, or even clean. Secondly, it can have a direct object, something or someone who receives the action of the verb.
Ah, I see. But how would we find this direct object?
It's really quite simple, Chris. To find a direct object of a transitive verb, you must first find the verb in the sentence and then ask to what or to whom after the verb. That's very important. Direct objects aren't usually single words. They are usually noun phrases. For example, in the sentence, Chris wrote a poem on a piece of paper, the verb would be wrote. And the direct object would be...
A poem on a piece of paper. Got it. So what about intransitive verbs? What are they?
Well, similarly to transitive verbs, an intransitive verb has two characteristics as well. It is also an action verb, which again expresses a doable activity. However, unlike a transitive verb, it cannot take a direct object receiving the action. So examples would include the sun set, I laughed, you cried, the book fell. In all of these cases, the subject is performing the action.
And nothing is receiving the action. Thank you very much, Sean. We'll come back to you shortly. For now, though, we're heading live to the University of Reading to our education correspondent, Hannah McDowell, who has the latest on the story's developments.
Thanks, Chris. I'm here outside the Modern Languages Department at the University of Reading in Berkshire today, where students have discovered that some transitive verbs can also be intransitive. It was certainly a shock for some. Now, I must point out that the following footage contains scenes that may be upsetting to some viewers, in which one of these students explains her reaction to today's discovery. Please note that her face and voice have been disguised to protect her identity.
It's true, transitive verbs can be intransitive, and I had no idea. We were told that this was the case for some verbs, depending on their usage. For example, the Italian verb continuare can be intransitive and transitive. Or continuato a studiare. Here, continuare is a transitive verb. As it is an action verb, it takes a direct object and can answer the question, what or whom. But continuare can also be intransitive. Le lezioni sono continuate. In this sentence, continuare does not take a direct object and can't answer what or whom, like in the first example. I never knew this.
As you can see, it was a big shock for students here today, but I've been talking to a number of people who've been saying that they're refusing to give up on this grammar and instead they will look ahead to the future, working at and improving their understanding of this. This is Hannah McDowell reporting for IT2L2 News. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Hannah. I can see why this would have been a shock for them today in Reading. Can't you, Sean?
Yes, I can see why it could have been a surprise for them, but these students must understand that it is much simpler than they think it is. I'll provide more examples for you just to make it easier to comprehend. Some action verbs can be transitive or intransitive depending on what follows in the sentence. If you look at iniziare, ho iniziato a filmare, we can see that iniziare takes a direct object and answers the question what or whom. If we look at an intransitive example, la scuola è iniziata, we can see that it cannot take a direct object, nor does it answer the what or whom question. Back to you, Chris. Ciao.
You're right. This is making more sense now. Would there be any other rules that would help these students understand a little further?
Yes, in fact there is. They should also try to look thoroughly at how the verbs are placed in the sentence. This would also indicate whether they are both transitive and intransitive.
Could you provide our viewers with one last example?
Yes, Chris, of course I can. Another example would be, you read the news with great care. In this sentence, the verb read is transitive as it has the direct object, the news. However, if you were to say you read until late at night, then this would be seen as intransitive because there is no object to receive or complete the action.
You're right, this should make it a lot simpler for students. So as long as they look at what follows the verb in the sentence and also at how the verbs are placed, they will be fine.
Exactly. There should be no reason for panic at all. Thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon as more dramatic grammatical stories unfold. That's all from us tonight. Stay classy, Reading. Thank you and good night.